Hello, everyone. It is Tinisha Brugnone, and I am back with another chapter of Pimpette Chronicles, a modern Black woman's guide to dating safely and navigating these mean streets. Thank you so much for joining me. I am on chapter 4, and I am working to be more consistent. So I said, as soon as I get home, I was going to put on dinner and I was going to just pour me some tea and get going on this book. Very, very excited that I am almost halfway through already. So I want to share something cute that I purchased off Amazon, which is my new teacup. It's teacup actually. It's a tea kettle and cup in one. See this? Fits right in there. Isn't that adorable? So you can have your little tea. It's like a little solo kit you can, or set rather. You have your little tea and, just pamper yourself a little bit, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm really getting into tea lately. So if you have any recommendations for some really good, like organic tea, let me know. Right now I'm having a hibiscus berry. I can't remember, some other type of mixture with hibiscus. I forget. I got to be better at promoting stuff, but I'm just saying, like, I like to experiment with different teas and it's pretty good. I've been drinking a lot of nettle tea, which I've mentioned before, because that helps with my fingernails. I'm trying to grow out my fingernails and, my eyelashes and things like that. So actually, I am going to put some lotion on my hands because they look ashy and we can't be going out like that. So give me a moment. And really, it's not lotion, it's castor oil. When I'm home, I constantly put castor oil, however you pronounce it, on my hands just to keep my skin nice and soft and keep my hands looking young as long as possible. Because you can tell someone's age by their eyes and their hands. And as you can see, my eyes are still pretty clear. I drink a lot of water, so I want to keep them nice and clear and keep my hands looking young. Oh, I love this. Okay, so I went to Ulta and I tried out this new Fenty lip gloss and I love it. I like this when I want to have more of a more youthful look, which is what I have with the pigtails going on right now. This is my after shampoo hairdo, by the way. Not really a style, but people seem to think it is. But when I want to look a little more youthful, I try to well, actually I put on lip gloss, so I feel like lip gloss takes years off. Okay, so let's get right into it. So, chapter 4 is choosing your partner. Let's go way back and revisit chapter 1 and your assignment to write down what you want in a mate. By now, you should have an idea of what you want at this stage in your life. So, now it's the time to prepare yourself to know how to recognize him when he arrives. I forgot to check volume because sometimes the volume be pretty high. Oh, it is high. So, you're probably getting some pops. Okay, so hopefully that's better. Okay, where was I? Remember, we need to be extremely honest with ourselves in determining who would be a suitable mate for us. And this takes experience and knowledge. My hope for you is that you have to kiss a minimal number of toes to get to your prince. When getting to know someone, most women go into the situation with their guard up. They tend to arrive fully armored, and as time goes on, these layers are slowly peeled away. Men know this, which is why it takes a while for them to show you their authentic selves. As mentioned, come prepared to meet the representative, and if you like him, be open to meeting the real him when the time is right. Keep in mind, as a lady, you should always protect your heart, but at the same time, you do not want to be so guarded that you forget how to enjoy the thrill and pleasures that come with dating and meeting someone new and exciting. Bear in mind that a wise woman always has a certain mystique about her, and men are attracted to the unknown. While learning your newfound interests, don't let him get you into a routine too soon and keep parts of your life a mystery to him. Don't answer every time he calls right away, or you will appear as if you will always be at his beck and call. Remember, in no form or fashion should you ever come off as completely naive. Also, know that some men will attempt to take advantage of the appearance of inexperience and to always stand by your own convictions while being open to being swayed in your beliefs only when new information is introduced and confirmed. Excuse me. As we know these days, choosing a partner is no longer one size fits all type of deal. At one time, it was basically the following for African American women in the US. Is he Black? Does he have a job? Is he likely to be a good provider? Do my parents approve? Do I like him enough to start a family with him? Hooray! If the man checked all the boxes above, you are most likely on your way to the altar. Most of our grandparents and some of our parents were just trying to get out of the house, and that was the only objective. Seriously, the goal at one time was to simply get married, buy a house, and have a family. Can you believe that? Insert hysterical laugh here. Nowadays, we are more inspired to look for someone to go on this life's journey with. Some men want what can be paraphrased as a ride or die chick, depending on his interpretation as such. We don't do that anymore. And some women want a man that can lead and teach them without hindrance, damage, and control. Nowadays, looking for a mate to build with and start or blend a family looks more like this. Does he have good credit? Has he been to prison? If so, how long? If he has been to prison, did he come out wiser or damaged? Is he employable? Does he have a job? Is he trying to at least get a job? How much money does he make? Is he self-employed? If self-employed, is it a real company that pays taxes, etc., or is his business just illusions of grandeur? Is he a natural-born male? If not, does he have the equipment I desire? Does he have children from a previous relationship? How many baby mamas does he have? How much child support is he paying out? Are the baby mamas going to try and fight me? Is he going to try and fight, or worse, kill me? Is he addicted to video games? Is he addicted to drugs? Is he addicted to anything? Is he secretly bisexual or gay? If bisexual, will he want me to participate? Is he monogamous? Is he polyamorous? Does his dick work? If his dick doesn't work, how about his tongue? Does he have an STI? If he has an STI, is it one I can live with? Is he a cheater? Is he Black? If not Black, is he slightly racist? If not slightly racist, is he raceless? And the list goes on and on. I say these things only to point out that modern life has increasingly become more complex, and as a result, we have become more aware and, dare I say, picky. Dating sites often give the illusion that we have an endless supply of men to choose from, but unfortunately, that is not the case. Most of the candidates on these sites have already kissed a number of toes themselves, and many of the men are scorned, immature, toxic, and have a list of other attributes you want to avoid. In actuality, there will be a very small percentage of men that you will meet who are even close to meeting most of your desires. For this reason and others, you cannot afford to fumble or overlook him. Yes, we know the decision is not entirely up to you, but at the same time, you must always remember that you have the power. You control who comes into your life. You control who has access to you. Okay. Next section, likes versus dislikes or biases. For one to be able to choose, one must first understand their likes, dislikes, and biases, while also being confident in knowing what works for them. In my past, there were times when a good intended friend suggested that I date someone I normally would not be, okay. I normally would not and probably was not even attracted to. These encounters never led to anything close to appealing or exciting, for that matter. Being attracted to someone physically and intellectually are two very important aspects of dating, even for women. In a patriarchal society, we are often fed the notion that men only need money to get women and women only need to be attractive. In the cases of men, that may still hold some truth for some to an extent. After all, who wants to date someone who can only take them to the corner store? But because the modern woman more likely works and has her own money, for us, the fellas have to come with much more than that. Ladies like myself also desire a decent looking package, and some men are not pleased. The way I see it is if my man desires that I be shapely and fit, then why should I not want the same? I would love to be half of a beautiful couple, wouldn't you? Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of Beauty and the Beast type duos who are perfectly happy. But the point is to be true to thy own self and understand your likes and dislikes while still assessing the entire man and not just a part of him. My suggestion is to really get to know and understand your preferences and desires. It is true that sometimes you got to try some things to be certain that you don't like them, but as you mature and evolve, you will become more confident in your own assertions. So, if you are certain you do not like men you think are ugly, don't date ugly men. If you don't care for smokers, don't date smokers. Not into kids, don't date men with kids. If heavy-set dudes repulse you, don't try to run the tsunami. No interest in short dick men, simply don't date short dick men. Haha. I thought I was funny on that part, y'all. Now I know you are probably wondering how you would know until after the first sexual encounter. You may not know, but we will review some tips later when we go over our Sex Life Matters chapter that will give you some idea of what you may be in for before the first encounter. The point is to just know that being with someone you don't like or are attracted to is a disservice to you and that other person. Remember, one woman's trash is another woman's treasure. So be mindful and do not hold someone else's match hostage. And even more importantly, don't allow someone to hold you hostage from your future mate. If he ain't the one, he ain't the one. Okay. And then we have a little section. You cannot see this. How come you can't see it? Like, anyways, there's a little section where you can put down your likes and your dislikes and your possible biases. I don't even remember this story. Huh. Okay, so this is a short story that I kind of draws the whole thing together, the chapter, and it's called "So It Is But Never Was," and that's on page 97, chapter 4. Let me get to a little more tea before I get into that. Okay. Oh, I remember now. Carla, 44, had been alone for some time when she met AJ, 50, on a dating site for singles who love to camp. Carla was a modern go-getter who had no children nor desire to have any, and AJ was a single father of one adult daughter. When they began talking, it was not long before the two were head over heels in love. They lived more than 700 miles from each other, but that did not stop them from dreaming of one day having a future together. During the time of this online courtship, COVID-19 was running rampant, so not being able to touch and kiss was not so much of a big deal to them both. They both have been pretty much isolated for about a year now. Many lonely nights consisted of honest conversations about their needs, including sexual ones. Carla had just left a loveless, sexless relationship, so she knew exactly what she wanted in a mate. Since intimacy was very important to Carla, AJ sent her dick pics to assure her that he had adequate equipment and that everything was intact. She was pleasantly impressed. Once the flying restrictions were lifted, the first thing that AJ wanted was to meet her in person. Although Carla lived alone, she was comfortable with having AJ visit her. She had relatives living in the same neighborhood, and she was a woman who could handle her own if things were ever tough. Being skilled in kickboxing and jujitsu, Carla could take down even the mightiest of men. Okay, give me 1 second. I am cooking and my spaghetti sauce needs to be stirred, so give me a moment here. Okay. My tea. Oh, I love this little teapot. It's just so cute. It makes me happy. Okay. Unfortunately, AJ missed his flight on the day of the trip. He had arrived at the airport too late and blamed it on a friend who had promised to take him. Carla knew this was a red flag and showed that he had poor planning skills, if nothing else. She firmly believed in having plans A, B, and C. She became suspicious, and had she not video chatted with him from the airport, she would have not believed him. AJ then tried to get a refund to reschedule, but said the airport would not give him his money back. He told her that all of his funds were, quote, tied up, which is code words for broke, and that he could not afford to simply buy another ticket. Carla felt sorry for him and horny for herself and offered to come to him instead. She had not been on a flight in years and had family nearby, so she would not be completely vulnerable. AJ was worth the risk, she thought. When she arrived at the airport, AJ was anxiously waiting. He began to approach her, and she realized he was much shorter and smaller than he had appeared on camera. He was childlike in size and could have very well been able to shop in the children's section at any clothing store. He beamed like a Christmas tree while she worked to hide her disappointment. As he gave her a huge hug, her nostrils filled with a slight stench of musk. She brushed it off because it was a very hot day. He had probably been waiting for her for a while. AJ happily grabbed her luggage and began to carry it to his car. After sweating and walking what seemed like 2 city blocks, they finally reached his vehicle. She was shocked to see he drove an old beat-up pickup truck and not the sports car he had shown her pictures of. That's Winston. I'm about to choke him. Okay, stop. He said it was in the shop and apologized for having to pick her up in something so inadequate. Carla had been taught early on to not judge a man based on material things, but still, she was a little taken back and uncomfortable in the Sanford and Son type of ride. As they began the ride to his house, the trip to his house, he excitedly told her how happy he was to see her. At this point, she started to remember what made her like him most. It was his sparkling green eyes and charming personality. She relaxed a little and said to herself, well, he isn't so bad. She was intrigued by the perfectly trimmed landscaping that showcased a unique rainbow of flowers as they pulled up to his home. She found the nearby, excuse me, I inhaled some dust or something. She found a neatly painted bungalow quite fitting for his sleek hippie style. On the inside, the walls were covered in carefully chosen African art, and his home smelled of incense and cannabis. Carla was not much into smoking, but she did not mind or judge those who did. After all, it is much harder to find someone who does not smoke these days than to find someone who does, she thought. While the two of them were relaxing in his dimly lit living room, AJ leaned in closely and kissed Carla. He slowly slipped his tongue into her mouth, and a foul taste of blackened mouths filled her taste buds. She recoiled in disgust, and he immediately noticed. He leaned back and asked her what was wrong, and she hastily yet confidently told him that she could taste the cigar on his tongue. He immediately went to the bathroom, brushed his teeth and mouth, and returned. She thought it was the perfect way to handle such a human mistake and did not judge him for it. They both laughed and tried again. Success. They commenced to the shower and bedroom, where Carla soon learned that AJ struggled with erectile dysfunction. He assured her that it didn't happen all the time and was probably because he was nervous. Luckily for Carla, his head game was superb. Let's say that again, y'all. Luckily for Carla, his head game was superb. That's funny. The next morning, Carla and AJ lay in bed and began to discuss the future, as they had so many times before. AJ then mentioned how he had lived in roughly 20 different states and could pretty much make a home anywhere. Carla asked him how he could move so freely when he had a child in his hometown. He then disclosed that he had not seen his daughter in more than 16 years. This came as a shocker since he had always spoken of his daughter as if he had helped raise her. Carla was learning that there was more to him than meets the eye. As the week progressed, more bombshells would be dropped. The next mind-boggling info she learned was that AJ had been homeless at one time to the point of living in his car and sleeping on benches. He'd impregnated 14 women in his lifetime that he knew of and had been in love 20 times. After noticing the confused look on Carla's face, AJ asked her how many times she had been in love. Her answer was simply 2.5. During this 5-day visit, additional details of his character and life kept flowing. Not only did he learn that sex was always going to be a struggle for, not only did she learn that sex was always going to be a struggle for them, AJ assured her that this inconvenience came as men got older and she would get used to it. But she was shocked to find out that he also needed to smoke a joint with his coffee every morning, had a habit of chain smoking cigars, and although she couldn't be sure, she suspected the rubber pussy she stumbled across probably contributed to his erectile dysfunction. After all, a real vagina definitely could not compete with a vibrating one. Carla also found it to be quite, quote, suspect that everywhere they went, AJ would point out the men he said were gay. She found this particularly peculiar since they had never discussed the LGBTQ plus community, and she had no idea why he thought she needed to know this information. Carla had learned more about him during this visit than she had learned in all the months they spent communicating virtually. By the end of the trip, she was unsure whether or not she wanted to continue the relationship and wondered if she was being, quote, picky. She had been accused of this many times before. The vacation away from home was pleasant enough as they enjoyed great outings that consisted of trips to the museum, national park, trendy restaurants, and many other moderately inexpensive dates. On the last day with AJ, she took a good hard look at him and noticed the lines of age on his face, the despair in his eyes, and the advancing stages of tooth decay. Being a dental hygienist, Carla asked him when was the last time he had been to the dentist. He said it had been years. For Carla, this knowledge gave insight into just how tough life had been for AJ. Most people know that when times are tough, the last thing you worry about is your teeth. Carla, since childhood, had always been extra careful with her own smile, and a man having a healthy smile was one of the things she absolutely required in a mate. From the looks of AJ's receding gums, she guessed his teeth had at most 3 years before they would start to exit stage left. At this point, she knew that she and AJ could never be. She severely disliked too many things about him, and the potential tooth loss was the icing on the cake. She had also realized that AJ was a wanderer and was most likely looking for the next place to lay his head. Another major thing that concerned her was the number of times the condom would miraculously come off. She found herself thinking, is he trying to knock me up too? At a minimum, she felt if a man his age had not mastered a simple skill such as keeping a condom in place and had impregnated 14 women, he was a liability. She politely broke it off once she was in the safety of her own home. About a year passed and Carla decided to talk. No, about a year passed and Carla decided to stalk AJ via social media to see what he was up to. Remembering that she was infatuated with him for months during the pandemic, the reality the reality was that she was special until he wasn't. Oh, let's say it again. The reality was that he was special until he wasn't. She wasn't surprised to find that he had impregnated and moved in with a woman much younger than him, who already had 5 other children just a few months after he and Carla broke up. The woman, she learned, had been divorced twice and could be considered lucky to find a man like AJ who was unlikely to pursue future mates and would be happy to raise her growing family. As with most men, AJ certainly had some good qualities about him, but they were not the qualities that Carla needed or wanted in her life. In the end, AJ had succeeded in securing the roof over his head, and Carla was happy to have dodged that bullet. It was truly a win win situation for them both. In all of her emotional maturity, Carla had followed the cardinal rule of not holding someone else's match hostage, following her own instincts, and not settling for less than what she truly wanted. Had she not decided to toss that fish back in the pond, she would have not been able to catch a bigger, more virile one. The lesson from Carla's story is just how important it is that we choose wisely and do what is best for us in our future. Early in life, we all develop things that we like and dislike, although some may change as we mature. For example, let's say you grew up in a community where you witnessed people who drank alcohol, got drunk, cursed, and acted a fool. You would suspect that everyone who indulged would eventually exhibit these behaviors, and you would not like people who drank alcohol. Or if you were told that if you cursed, people would think you were unintelligent, you would not want to be around people who curse and you'd probably develop a bias against those who do. Actually, scientific studies prove the complete opposite of those who like to slang an occasional F bomb here and there. But if you grew up and was taught that, then not even science would likely change your mind. When seeking compatibility, these likes versus dislikes, or in the last example, biases, can make or break the relationship. Work toward determining whether or not your preference is legit. Winston. Work toward determining whether or not your preference is legit or if it is just a bias that was ingrained in you. Let's say you do not want to date men who drink alcohol because the smell and taste make you ill, and you hate to kiss a man with liquor on his breath. That would definitely be a legitimate enough reason to know that you do not like men who drink, because this outcome will directly affect your intimate relationship with him. The point is to be confident in who you choose to spend your time with and understand your likes, dislikes, and biases. Be sure to always create an expiration date on how much time you plan on investing in a situationship before you would need to move on if it is not progressing the way you believe it should. And there are things about the person that you just don't like. Be honest and meticulous with how you move, and don't go in with the knowledge that you would never want to commit to that type of person. You have them think there is a chance, or even worse, waste your time trying to convince yourself that there's a chance. Don't misuse the nice guy, the quote unquote nice guy, I like to say, who will do anything for you while you wait for a more compatible mate to come along. Be honorable and respectful in everything you do, and you won't have to worry about that bitch named Karma. Okay, that is the conclusion of our reading of chapter 4. We're halfway through chapter 4. And next time, I will pick up on the 3 stages of dating. But this is enough. I will try to keep these like around 25 minutes because, yeah, I don't like being on here too long, and that's too long as it is. So thank you guys for joining me. You can find this book on Amazon. I'm going to put the link in here. I need to do some editing to these. But it's called Pimpette Chronicles, A Modern Black Woman's Guide to Dating Safely and Navigating These Mean Streets. It's also available online at Barnes and Nobles. I keep saying Barnes and Nobles. I just want to put an S on the end for some strange reason. So it's available on the Barnes and Noble website, also Madu Bookstore in Atlanta, and 27th Letter Bookstore in Detroit on Michigan Ave. That is our local bookstore that has the book in stock. So you can go by there and check it out. And again, my name is Tinisha Brugnone, and thank you so much for joining me, and enjoy the rest of your week. Ta-ta!